Caitlin Clark has gone from changing the WNBA to changing her own front office. Reports are exploding everywhere that Clark has quietly pressured Indiana Fever management to keep Sophie Cunningham and Lexie Hull, her two closest allies, no matter what it costs. And the wildest part, it actually worked. Now, here's the real question. Is Caitlin Clark right to use her power like this? Or is she crossing a serious line as a player? Let's get one thing straight. Who's ESPN predicting to walk out of Indiana in free agency? Who's expected to leave their teams altogether? This offseason has more free agents than any in WNBA history. Everyone's chasing new deals under the updated CBA. So now, we've got to figure out who's about to leave Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. And what's really happening behind closed doors. Let's start with the headline that set social media on fire this week. Things are uncertain across the league, but one player finally spoke up. She said, "Yeah, I'm a restricted free agent, so that changes things a bit. But I've loved my time here in Indiana. I've built a life here. I love this franchise. I love the fans. But we'll see what happens." Sounds simple, right? Except that's not how it played out online. For weeks, people were saying Lexie Hull was done in Indiana. There were tearful goodbye posts, fake farewell messages, and clickbait stories saying she'd already started packing for another team. Turns out all of that was complete fiction. Rumors built on half quotes and desperate headlines. Because now we know the real story. Caitlin Clark stepped in and made sure Lexie Hull and Sophie Cunningham weren't going anywhere. Multiple sources confirm Clark personally went to the Fever's management and made it crystal clear. These two are off limits. She wants them back. She wants stability. She wants the people she trusts on the court next season. And honestly, she's not wrong. Let's face it. Clark's second year is make or break for the Fever. They went from the bottom of the league to a semi-final team mostly because of her impact and the chemistry she built with players like Lexie and Sophie. You can see it in every game. When Clark drives and dishes to Lexie in the corner for a three, or when Sophie crashes the boards for a second chance bucket. That's chemistry money can't buy. But the media, as usual, twisted it into a soap opera. Because Caitlin Clark saves her friends from being cut, gets more clicks than Indiana Fever exercise restricted free agent rights like every other team. So let's clear this up. Lexie Hull is a restricted free agent. That means Indiana controls her future. They can match any offer another team makes. She never said goodbye. She said she was unsure, which is exactly what every player says before talks begin. What really changed everything was Clark's reaction. She went public on Lexie's post and commented just 3 words. "So proud of you." That wasn't a goodbye. That was a signal. A subtle message saying, "I got you." And you better believe the Fever's front office saw it. Because here's the truth. If Caitlin Clark backs you publicly, the ownership listens. This isn't 2023 anymore. Clark isn't just a player. She's a brand worth millions. Her opinion holds as much weight as the coach's clipboard. Now, let's talk about why this actually matters. Sophie Cunningham and Lexie Hull might not be the top scorers, but they bring toughness, energy, and loyalty. The kind of stuff that held the team together when half the roster was injured. When Clark went down late in the season, Sophie was the first one to step up, defending her in press conferences and keeping the locker room calm. When Lexie had an off night, Clark kept feeding her until she found her rhythm. That's real trust. And you can't fake that. So why would the Fever even consider letting them go? One word, money. The Fever are entering an off-season where half the bench hits free agency and the salary cap is tight. They can't pay everyone. But they also can't afford to upset the one player who single-handedly dragged their franchise out of irrelevance. That's the power of Caitlin Clark. If she wants someone protected, the team listens. Period. This is the same franchise that used to make decisions based on stats and future projections. Now, every decision starts with one question. What keeps number 22 happy? And honestly, that's not a bad thing. When you have a generational player who fills arenas, sells jerseys, and gets you national TV coverage, you build around her. Not because she's entitled, but because she's earned it. Let's not rewrite history here. The Fever were a disaster before Clark arrived. They didn't just need a point guard. They needed a leader, a face, a reason for fans to care again. Caitlin Clark brought that. So when she tells management, "I want Sophie and Lexie back," it's not just a player making a request, it's a movement. And for anyone saying she's overstepping, please, superstars influencing rosters is nothing new. LeBron does it. Steph does it. R.J. Wilson does it. When you're the reason the lights stay on, you get a say in who's on your team. The only difference is that Caitlin Clark is doing it younger and faster than anyone in WNBA history. Now here's where things get really interesting. Multiple insiders claim the Fever had already planned to save money this offseason by not matching Lexie Hull's next contract. They expected other teams to bid on her as a defensive specialist off the bench. But once Clark's camp found out, everything changed. Suddenly, management was re-evaluating. Then came the leaks. Whispers of a private meeting between Clark and GM Amber Cox, discussions about player chemistry, and Clark's core preferences. A week later, the tone shifted completely. The same executives who were ready to let Lexie walk are now talking about preserving continuity and rewarding chemistry. Translation: Caitlin Clark got exactly what she wanted. And it didn't stop there. Sophie Cunningham, who was under fire for her outspoken comments and even faced a league warning, was reportedly on the chopping block too. The front office wanted to avoid more distractions. But then came Clark. Again. She stepped in, made it clear she wanted Sophie back. And that was that. The player who was attacked online for defending Clark is now being protected by Clark herself. That's loyalty. And that loyalty has now boxed management into a corner. Because let's be real, if the Fever had dumped Sophie after everything she did for Clark, it would have been a PR nightmare. Fans would have seen it as betrayal. You can't let go of the one player who literally stood up for your franchise star during on-court chaos. That's not how you build trust. So Clark's move wasn't just smart, it was necessary. She saved the Fever from their own bad decision and from another round of bad press. Because this team doesn't need more drama. It needs direction. And the chemistry between Clark, Sophie, and Lexie is that direction. Clark's fire, Sophie's fearlessness, and Lexie's calm defense. It's the perfect balance. This isn't about friendship or favoritism. It's about winning. And Caitlin Clark knows how to win. Now, here's where things start heating up even more. What Caitlin Clark just pulled off isn't just about saving two teammates. It's a message to the entire WNBA. She basically said, "If you want to win with me, protect my circle." That's not a small locker room comment. That's a power move. Clark has now reached a point where her influence carries more weight than half the Fever's front office combined. From this moment on, every major decision Indiana makes, trades, signings, marketing, will go through one unspoken question. How does this affect Caitlin? And honestly, that's exactly how it should be. When you've got a once-in-a-generation player who transformed your team, saved your ticket sales, and brought national attention back to your franchise, you don't treat her like just another player. You treat her like the foundation you build everything around. That's what this move proves. Caitlin Clark is now the architect of the Indiana Fever's future. Now, when people first heard that she had stepped in to keep Sophie and Lexie, half the internet lost its mind. Some called it favoritism. Others said she was power-hungry. But those critics seem to forget what this team went through last season. Let's not sugarcoat it. Last year was chaos. Half the roster was injured. The media turned every game into a headline circus. The league put Clark under a microscope 24/7. She got hacked, booed, and targeted, and still dropped threes, ran the offense, and dragged the Fever into the playoffs. You don't survive that without people in your corner. And for Caitlin Clark, those people are Sophie and Lexie. Sophie's the one who had her back when everyone else went silent. When critics came for Clark, Sophie was the first to clap back. When Clark got fouled hard, Sophie was the one ready to defend her. That's real loyalty. Not the kind you find on a contract, And Lexie, she's the glue. Quiet, reliable, calm under pressure. The player who does all the unglamorous things that make a team work. She spaces the floor, plays defense, and never complains. You can't replace that with a random free agent and expect the same results. You can't trade trust. And Caitlin Clark knows that. So yeah, she used her influence to make sure the team didn't mess up what actually works. That's not ego, that's leadership. And honestly, it's about time someone in Indiana showed some, because let's face it, the Fever have a history of breaking what they build. They finally gain momentum, then hit reset 6 months later. Clark's move tells them to stop the cycle. By protecting Sophie and Lexie, she's sending a message. Stop rebuilding every 6 months. Start building something that lasts. That's what championship teams do. But there's another layer that most people aren't even talking about. The timing. This whole thing is happening right before one of the most uncertain off-seasons in WNBA history. The collective bargaining agreement expires soon, and everyone's bracing for a mess. Possibly hindered even a 2026 lockout. Players are nervous. Nobody wants to be stuck on a team that doesn't value them or get caught in negotiations that go nowhere. That's what makes Clark's loyalty move even bigger. She's basically telling her teammates, if you're loyal to me, I'll fight for you. And in a league where players often feel replaceable, that means something. Let's be honest, no young player in recent history has had this kind of pull. Even Aja Wilson and Brianna Stewart didn't have this level of power early in their careers. But Clark does. Her reach isn't just about her stats. It's about her influence. When she speaks, people listen. When she posts, fans react. When she pushes for something, ownership acts. It's wild to think about, but Caitlin Clark might be becoming the first WNBA player powerful enough to force decisions just by existing. And that's shaking things up. Now let's talk about how this affects the rest of the Fever roster. Keeping Sophie and Lexie changes everything. It means the team is choosing chemistry over chaos. It means they're actually listening to the players who make them fun to watch. It also means they're done pretending this is a rebuilding year. Because here's the truth. Indiana's window is Caitlin Clark's prime. Boston's dominating the paint. Clark's running the floor. The league is finally paying attention. You don't throw that away just to save a few $1,000s under the cap. This move, keeping Sophie and Lexie, is Indiana saying, we're serious now. They're not just keeping role players. They're keeping the heart of the team. And yes, it was Caitlin Clark who made it happen. Now, does this make her the unofficial GM of the Fever? Maybe not on paper, but in practice, absolutely. Because let's be real, if Sophie or Lexie had gone to management alone, they'd probably be gone already. But with Clark behind them, suddenly they're core culture pieces. That's real power. And it shows just how fast the WNBA's power structure is shifting. This isn't the old league anymore, where players were told to shut up and play. The new generation, led by Clark, is redefining that. They're not just athletes, they're partners in the franchise. Caitlin Clark just showed everyone how to use leverage the smart way, quietly, strategically, and effectively. No drama, no cryptic posts, no threats. She simply told the team what she wanted, and got it. And fans loved it. The comment sections exploded with support. Fever fans called her the boss, saying, finally, someone who gets it. Because deep down, everyone knows she's right. Keeping Sophie and Lexie isn't just friendship, it's strategy. You win by keeping the right people around you. Ask any legend. Jordan had Pippen, Kobe had Fisher, Steph has Draymond, Caitlin has Sophie and Lexie. They're not just teammates. They're extensions of how she plays. They balance her, protect her, and make her better. That's why fans are calling this the smartest move of the offseason. Instead of letting management break apart something that works, Clark forced them to lock it down. That's not diva behavior. That's how winners operate. And honestly, it's refreshing to finally see a WNBA star who understands that legacies are built by leadership, not highlight reels. So heading into next season, the Fever now have everything they need. Leadership, chemistry, and a core that actually believes in each other. And they have Caitlin Clark to thank for that. The league might not love how much power she's gaining, but they can't deny the results. Because one thing's undeniable. The Indiana Fever are no longer a rebuilding project. They're a team being shaped by the most powerful voice in women's basketball. And if management was smart enough to listen this time, this could be the first real step toward a championship run. So now I'll leave it to you. Did Caitlin Clark just save the Fever from another off-season disaster? Or is she getting a little too powerful for her own good? Drop your thoughts below. And if you want more deep dives into the real drama behind the WNBA headlines, you know what to do. Because one thing's for sure, this story isn't over.